Users use it to create the reports. Users then publish the reports to the Power BI service to share reports with other users. How do you get Power BI Desktop? Either you can go to the Windows App Store and search for Power BI Desktop, or download and install from powerbi.com. The advantage of using the Windows 10 App Store method is that monthly updates are automatically pushed out to your local PC versus having to download and install the latest download each month. Microsoft is putting a lot of development into the product and releasing new features monthly. Once we've downloaded the application, we're ready to launch it. So I would click on this Power BI Desktop icon. I've already done that here, so I'll just bring it up. You're presented with this splash screen on login. You can click down here to say, take off, don't show this on startup, but this would be the normal experience you would have. I'm just going to click X to log out. The other thing to notice is in Power BI Desktop, we have a ribbon at the top here. On the left-hand side, we have reports, our data, and relationships. And on the right-hand side, we have visualizations, so different visualizations I can select. We also have formatting, filters, and other stuff that I'll be going through. The important piece when building a Power BI Desktop report is we basically have 3 steps. First step is we need to get data. This can be data from whatever data source we have. The second step would be to model our data, so only return the data required or transform the data in a certain way. This will be covered in more detail in future webinars, but I'll be going over a little bit of getting data from the model, building the model. And the third step is creating visuals from that data. So let's get started by getting our data. So in the ribbon here, I'm going to click Get Data. And I have all these options available to me. I have, I can get data from Excel, SQL Server, text or CSV file. If I click more here, you'll notice there's a lot more options as well. So I can, different databases, Oracle database, MySQL, on and on. Other SaaS type services, so OData feed, ODBC connection, Active Directory, SharePoint lists, web page scraping are some examples. Online services, D365, Nav, Google Analytics, Facebook, MailChimp, GitHub, on and on. Microsoft is continually adding new connectors to this list pretty much every month. So in our particular case, we're going to get data from a SQL Server. So I'm going to select Get Data here, select SQL Server. And we're going to put in the SQL instance. So in our case, this is PPG demo serve. And database name is optional, but ours is TWPA. Now, under advanced options, I have the ability to refine the query even more by putting in select star from RM00101 or select star from particular view. I'm just going to leave this blank. It's going to return all the objects, so tables and views from my database. And once I hit OK here, I'm not going to be presented with this dialog box, which is basically authenticating me to a database. So if you're using SRSS reports, for example, you probably already have access to the data, so you can just use my current credentials, hit connect, and you should be good. You can also, if you had SA password, you could put that in here, and the password or some other SQL account. SA probably is not a good option to use, but Profit could definitely help you set up a SQL account if that's required. So I'm just going to go back to Windows, select current credentials, and hit connect at this point. Now you're going to be presented with this box that's hard to see here, but it's you can just hit OK past this. And here are all the objects available in the database. We're going to be selecting data from the sales line item details table. So I'm just going to select sales, or start typing in sales. It's going to return, as you can see, all the objects that have the word sales in them. wherever it may be. So I'm going to select sales line items, hit OK here. And once we've done that, we're going to be returned with all the particular columns within the table. I want to restrict that, so I'm going to, instead of selecting load, I'm going to hit edit. This is going to bring up the Power Query editor, where at this point I can go to choose columns and actually refine which columns are being returned to me. So I'm going to deselect all the columns and only choose the columns I want. So I'm going to select SOP type, SOP number, item description, quantity, extended price, customer number. And there's some other columns that we also want. And you can use this search bar at the top here to search for particular column names. So we want customer name as well. So I'm just going to put name in here. And as you can see, this returned customer name to me, which is what we want. I'm going to hit it. We're also going to select document date. And item class code. And we're going to hit OK at this point. So as you can see, I've returned a bunch of columns, which is what we want. Now let's say I forgot a column. I could just easily click on this gear icon here. And let's say we want to return the class code from the customer. So I'm just going to type class. So customer class is in this particular view. I'm going to hit OK to that. Now it's added. Now you'll notice the document dates return the date and time. We want this to only be the date, so I'm just going to select this particular column. And we're going to transform this by going to the transform tab at the top here and selecting date and saying date only. So this is now transforming this. The other thing you'll notice is it's done this applied step, so it's we've removed certain columns. That's a step. We sorted a particular row. We extracted the date. So like each one of these is a step. I could easily delete this a particular step and or go back and adjust a particular step by clicking on the gear icon. You can also change the orders of columns. So for example, if I want SOP number to be in front of SOP type, I could easily drag that around. The other thing I can do is I could apply a filter. So in our example, we don't want to see back orders and orders and quotes. So we're just going to select invoices and returns and hit OK here. The other thing in our data set is we're only selecting invoices and returns, but if we looked at returns, we'll notice the quantity and the extended price are positive numbers for a return. We need these to be a negative number. So we're going to accomplish that by selecting just invoices and returns in our normal data set. We're going to filter this down to be only returns. And we're now going to copy this particular query. So just select copy, and we're going to paste this. So once we've copied and we have this other data set, we're going to go back to our original data set, which is the sales lines items. And we're going to say we only want to see invoices. And we'll go back to we're going to rename this just to keep it organized, returns. Now the important thing is we need to modify this column. So we're going to apply a transform. So we're going to select our transform tab and we're going to select multiply this by -1. Once again, there's multiple ways of doing this. And we'll do the same thing with extended price, multiply that by -1. So now we have a return data set and we have our invoices. We can actually append one data set onto another. So we're going to select our sales line items and we're going to click the Home tab, and we're going to select, we can merge queries or append. So we're going to append the second query to the first. So I'm going to select Append Queries, the two tables I want to append. So our current is our sales line items. We want to append returns to that. We can also extract the month and year columns. So I'm going to select the date column in our data set now. And once I've selected the date column, I'm going to go to Add Column tab here. I'm going to select date, and I want to say I want a new column that's year only. So we're going to have now a year column. And I also want another new column that is the month. So I'm going to do the same thing. So once I've added the year and month, the other important thing is to change the data type of this to be text. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back to Home. Now the final step is to click Close and Apply. So we're going to close and apply this. It's going to create our data model for us. So we're now ready to build visuals from our data. So first visual I'm going to build is a sales by customer class type visual. So I'm just going to drag customer class onto the canvas here. Simple as that. And then I'm also going to drag the extended price field onto here. So as you can see, I have sales by extended price by customer class. I can also drag year onto here. And as you can see, I have now year. The nice thing is I can switch this to a matrix visual. So right now this is just a table, but I can switch this to matrix. What this does is it creates a nice little visual matrix visual for me with year across the top, customer class along the sides, and totals by customer class by year. So I'm going to create a second visual that's item quantity sales by item class code. So once again, I'm just going to drag the item class code onto the visual, and we're going to do once again extended price and year. We'll drag year also onto the chart here. And I'm going to switch this to be a clustered column chart. So this is now showing us our sales by year, which is what we had wanted. As you can see, most of the sales are to retail item class. So as you can see, I'm building sort of a mini dashboard at this point, but it's just a report. I can also format the charts. So for example, I can select a particular visual or chart in this particular case, and then click on the formatting icon, and I can turn on go to title. I can have that centered. I can actually put whatever I want as the title. So sales by item class by year. We can change the font color, so I can make that darker. I can change the size of the font if I wanted to as well, make it a little larger. So very easy to modify all sorts of things related to this visual from this particular page here. So I can turn on data labels, turn those on, so you can see I now have data labels turned on. The last thing I want to do is right now I'm seeing sales for all years, but I just want to create a slicer. So I'm just going to drag the year onto here and change this to be a slicer visual. So now as you can see, it allows me to click 2016 and only see sales for 2016 or whatever the case may be. But what if I want to see all years? Well, if I select this particular visual, I can go into the selection op control and actually turn on select all. So now I have a select all button. The other thing I can do is on the general tab, what I like to do is change this to horizontal orientation. So now I have sort of like buttons representing the years. So I could drag this down a little bit and move year up to here. Let's make this a little wider. So now if I chose 2016, 2017, as you can see, the data's changing as I'm switching years